two half-sisters go on a winter dive in a remote area of the Norwegian coastline. With an unexpected turn of events, the young sisters get caught by a huge rock falling from the cliff, leaving her stuck at the bottom of the sea. Will the older sister be able to save her in time, or will they both give in to the dangers of diving?
Hello, and welcome to our channel. Today we'll recap and review a drama thriller movie called Breaking Surface. Let's check it out.
The movie begins with Ida, who comes from a family of divers having a nightmare. Her younger version comes to the lake calling her mother for help. Her sister Tuva hasn't come up yet, so the mother swiftly dives into the water to find her missing daughter. The worried mother finds her daughter and pulls her up from the water.
Without wasting any time, she performs CPR on the little girl until she starts breathing again. Finally, she wakes up from her dream and remembers that her mother is blaming her for what has happened to her sister. She gets out of bed in the middle of the night to go check on her husband, who apparently has fallen asleep while working in another room.
While she prepares all her diving gear before heading out, her daughter wakes up and calls her. She tells her daughter that she is going to visit her sister and mother and go diving with them. The daughter is bothered by what her brother mentioned to her about their parents getting divorced. Ida comforts her daughter and assures her that it won't happen. Tuva wears her diving gear and prepares for her work in the very cold winter. She dives into the water to inspect the propellers of a large shipping vessel, starting with the main propeller. Everything was going well until she saw one of the propellers had a net tied to it. First, she ensures that none of the engines are working by coordinating them. After that, she proceeds to go into the tube to look at it closely. While she is trying to cut the net entangled in the propeller, the engine suddenly starts. She swims as hard as she can get away from the propeller while the current drags her toward it. In danger of being sliced by the propeller, she quickly releases her oxygen gear, causing the propeller to become stuck. She rushes to the captain's deck where she assaults the person who nearly killed her. Tuva and her mother are delighted to see Ida at the airport after a long time. Seeing her sister getting along with their mother makes the older sister a little bit jealous. In the car, the mother talks about how they are going to spend time together over the weekend. She starts asking about Ida's family. However, she begins nagging and insulting her about how she's handling her family problems, making the situation a little bit uncomfortable. At night, the older sister talks to her sister about what happened in the car. The sister confronts her and tells her not to mind it too much. Ida suggests that her sister join her back at home after their weekend dive. However, her sister is already set to travel to another country in a couple of days. The following day arrives and the weather is still freezing. Their mom's cough worsens, so she can no longer join her daughter scuba diving. Ida sees her sister smoking and talks to her. They agree to proceed with their scuba diving activities even without their mom. The sisters travel to the site together with the dog. On their way there, they come across a family with the trouble of a flat tire. Tuva volunteers to help the family and refuses to leave until the tow truck arrives. They arrive at a familiar diving spot. They unload their diving equipment near the river and prepare everything for the dive, including the emergency communication system in case something happens to them. Realizing that they are in a bit of a dangerous spot, they move all their gear under the overhang. This will prevent small rocks from the cliff hitting their equipment.
The younger sister starts to tell the older sister about the details of their underwater trip. They put everything in place and then they head on down to dive. And they're also using full masks with wireless communication so they can speak with each other underwater. The younger sister then leads the way, as she's already been down there a few times before.
At the beginning of their dive, their path is very narrow, which makes the elder sister a bit worried. On the other hand, her sister assures her that the path will continue to open up. A little while later, she stops her sister at a specific spot and instructs her to release some air. At first, Ida was hesitant to do it, but she followed her anyway. Tuva then guides her sister up and shows her the space, which is kind of like a dive bell, where they can remove their masks and breathe. The younger woman shows her the initials she and their mother had engraved in the rock formation. It made the older sister jealous once again because she felt that she doesn't belong ever since they were little. Feeling frustrated, she begins to vent about her family problems and reveals that her marriage is not going well. They continue to follow the path until they reach the open sea. For their safety, they check the readings on their tanks to see how long they can stay underwater. Not only that, they need to consider a safety stop before resurfacing because of the different pressure. 2 killer whales are roaming around. To attract the marine animals, the two sisters attempt to call them by mimicking their sounds. However, the whales suddenly get scared by something and swiftly turn back. A massive pile of rocks falls off the cliff into the water. With no time to think, both attempt to avoid the rock, but unfortunately Tuva gets dragged to the bottom of the lake. In panic and consuming more air, Ida rushes to the bottom while she tries to call her sister. Both of them calm down for a bit after being able to communicate. The younger sister is struck and can't move back upwards, so the older sister slowly goes to the dark bottom to look for her. She reaches the bottom, but they are still far from each other. To avoid getting lost, she uses a line marker while exploring in the dark water. With the help of the flashlight, she finally sees her sister, but she's running out of oxygen. The older sister panics again, so her composed sister calms her down. She calms down, marks the spot with glow sticks, and resurfaces without doing a safety stop to call for help. Things get more troublesome when she finds out that a rock slide destroyed most of their equipment, making her unable to call for help. She rushes upward panting and eliminates the vehicle window to get the spare oxygen tanks and jack lift inside. However, she struggles to open the trunk of the car. Time is running out, so she is forced to go back down without the jack lift. She sees a plane flying in the area and tries to call for help using a flare. However, she accidentally drops the backup tank. Her sister can no longer wait as she is about to lose her oxygen supply, so Ida dives down and temporarily shares her oxygen supply while searching for the spare tank. She finds it just in the nick of time before running out of breath. She swims up with haste, hoping to catch the plane after skipping the safety stop again. However, the plane is already gone.
At the same time, her body is starting to feel the consequences of not doing the safe stop. This causes her to start vomiting. She's still having trouble opening the trunk, so she uses the map to find the nearest place to call for help.
She arrives at a nearby house, but the owner seems not to be around. She forces her way inside with no other choice, but a guard dog starts to attack her, ripping parts of her scuba gear. After overpowering the dog, she finds a laptop, but the Wi-Fi signal is down, which makes her more frustrated. She finds a tool to open the trunk forcefully and rushes back to the car. Finally, she opens the trunk, discovering that there is no jack lift, only a temporary sealant to repair a flat tire. For a moment, she starts crying, fearing there's nothing she can do. She removes the wooden stick of a road sign and uses it to move the rock. Before returning to the bottom, she fixes her scuba suit with the sealant and bandages. With only one spare tank left, she dives to the bottom and tries to move the boulder using the wooden pole. Unfortunately, while attempting to move the rock, Ida's air supply significantly depletes because she uses more air. They even discovered that the valve of the last spare tank is broken. The heavy rock is not even budging, and after 3 attempts, the pole breaks. Their last hope is to inflate the buoyancy device the elder sister is wearing. Unfortunately, the safety valve is opening, preventing the device from inflating. The elder sister can no longer ascend without making a safety stop because it will cause tremendous stress to her body. Ida decides to give up her oxygen supply to her sister and rapidly ascends, hoping there is someone to rescue them. Her body starts to struggle and she begins to bleed from her nose and vomit. Everything seems hopeless until she realizes she can use the sealant to cover the buoyancy equipment. Even though she is struggling and without any oxygen supply, she quickly dives down to the bottom. She and her sister continue to share the only working oxygen supply until they inflate the buoyancy device. Thankfully, it manages to move the heavy rock, which enables Tuva to get herself out. With Ida doing too many dives, she must decompress first, so they go to the dive bell area, where they can remove their mask. However, they will soon run out of oxygen, so the younger sister risks her life to retrieve the tank with a broken valve. She successfully retrieves it and they forcefully open the tank, giving them extra air to breathe while the older sister is resting. Ida is at her limit and, with the extreme conditions, her body collapses while in the tunnel. Tuva was forced to resurface, pulling her unconscious sister back to shore. Finally, a helicopter arrives at the area to rescue them. As the movie ends, Ida wakes up while her younger sister is warming her body up.
This movie manages to deliver everything in a very short period of time. It's a fast-paced thriller that brings to mind those days when nothing goes right, only this time, the consequences could be fatal. The tension that the story builds up to is really worth your time, so you should put this film on your list to watch. I promise, you won't regret it. Please subscribe to our channel to be notified when we upload, and don't forget to suggest movies that you want us to recap in the comments down below.